time to begin. You can tell me if it's too loud or not loud enough. I can move it up and down. Okay. Okay, from the solo on the board back there again. So you tell me if it's bad. Brady asked me to do the class this morning. I have taught this class one time before, but it's been a long, long time. Before we get into our class material, I want to start by thanking each of you for your support over the last few months. As my family and I went through the process of becoming an elder. Most of all of you in some way spoke to me, whether it be, just whatever, the importance of it. A couple of you came and we talked in my office, and I appreciate everyone that did that. This process is very important. It's very important to me. The job that Paul and Michelle both do. It's a position that takes a lot of dedication, the joy of it, as well as sometimes the heartache. So, but I appreciate the opportunity to do that, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you here. Today I didn't want to get into Brady's lesson, so I decided that I would do something on my own. Today I want to talk to you about the message of the cross. First of all, before I get into my lesson, I'm going to ask Jeff if he would to lead us in prayer.
Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly, most gracious Father, we thank you for this opportunity here we have gathered together and hear and discuss your word. Be with Cody today as he presents the word and help him have a recollection of what he studied. Help us listen, help us put the message in our heart. We ask that you be with those that aren't here today, those that are traveling and those that are struggling with illness. And most of all, we want to thank you so much for your son, Jesus. In his most precious name we pray. Amen.
The first verse I'd like to talk to you in John. It's a verse we all know. We can all probably say it by heart. We see it everywhere. Everybody wants to put John 3:16 up at the ball games. You see it hanging on the wall. John 3:16 reads, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." Many translations there you see the word should, but many of them you see shall not, will not. What is the importance there in John 3:16 of the word should not perish? You want to tell me?
These are the conditions.
Absolutely.
It also means you can perish.
Okay. We read the next verse 17, "For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but the world through him might be saved." So he kind of follows it up there as might be saved. So there are conditions, there are things that you have to do. You can't just be baptized and then go on your merry way and be saved. So, if you want to go ahead and turn in your Bible, the rest of the class period will be in Matthew. Matthew chapter 27. So yeah, over the last month or so as I've studied this, it's a whole lot easier than sitting there living around. It just got really hot and I'm really nervous. Anyway, bear with me. Matthew 27. As we read through Matthew 27, we'll start at verse 1. "When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself, and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. What role here does Judas play in this? Anyone tell me? What did Judas do there, Howard?
Well, he was a traitor.
He was a traitor. And why do you think at this point when he was led away, why do you think it hit Judas there? Why do you think he understood what he had done at that point? If you read there, then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself, and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. 30 pieces of silver. Is that blood money?
This I read somewhere with price of a slave.
30 pieces of silver wasn't very much money, was it?
But you know, sometimes as people get focused in, you saw that pot at the end of the rainbow.
Exactly.
Got so focused, maybe after the process of less than that way, it could finally came, his senses came back or something.
Why was Judas chosen there? Go ahead, Al.
I was going to say that I believe they were going to put that thing in the trigger and they said they couldn't do it.
That's exactly right. We'll get to that.
They could,
You're exactly right.
none of this money to buy the life of God.
That's right. Couldn't put the blood money back in the treasury, right?
Yes, that was beneath them to accept.
Exactly right. There in verse 4, you'll see, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is this to us? See thou to that. In verse 5, he says, and he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed, and went and hanged himself. So, not only as you say, Howard, he was a traitor, but he was a coward, it sounded like too. So, he knew he had done wrong. He didn't want to pay the price, so he just went and hung himself. So, in verse 6, and the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, it is not lawful to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood, just like you said there, Howard. So they couldn't take that 30 pieces of silver that he left in the temple. They couldn't take that and put it into the treasury. So they took counsel and bought the potter's field to bury strangers in. Wherefore that field was called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled which was spoken by Joel the prophet, saying, and they took 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value. And they gave him for the potter's field as the Lord appointed him. Jesus stood before the governor. The governor asked him, saying, art thou the king of the Jews? And Jesus said to him, thou sayest. So basically he standing there in front of the governor asked him, aren't you the king of the Jews? And he says, well, you're saying I am. You're accusing me of that, right? And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at the feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. So at this point, they have them in front of them. They're going to release one of them, right? So, there in 16, they decide that they are going to, basically one of them is going to be released. So therefore, when they gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, have thou nothing to do with with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests, in verse 20, but the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask for Barabbas and destroy Jesus. So what are they doing here? And we're about 16 down.
You know, I don't really kind of want to deal with it.
Right.
I really want to deal with it. It's kind of, it's like,
So he,
I saw that this would probably going to be even more trouble than it was.
right,
Well, we're told to, release one.
that's correct. That's correct.
And they took this man, I believe he's a murderer.
That's correct.
To go before Jesus, God.
And
But also the Jesus and all that one to make sure they didn't take Jesus.
That's correct.
Jesus, so
that's correct. That's
that might happen, you know.
right. So in that case there, verse 21, the governor answered and said unto them, whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you? They said Barabbas. So they chose Barabbas to be released here in 21. Then in 22, Pilate saith to them, what shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? They all say unto him, let him be crucified. Then in verse 23, the governor said, why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. So at this point, he's asking, what has he done? What has he done wrong?
He fell in his leadership role. He's answering to the mob mentality. And he's, if I understand, he said, I got him.
Yeah, we'll read in a few minutes. So when Pilate saw that they could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am the innocent of the blood of this just person, see ye to it. Just like you're saying there, too. He basically just, he's washing his hands of it, he won't have anything to do with it.
They were so jealous of Jesus, they were afraid they were going to lose their power.
Exactly.
They had to get rid of it.
Right. Exactly right. Then answered, in verse 25, then answered all the people and said, his blood be on us and on our children. Verse 26, then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified.
What's that word from that next? And what's the ramifications of that next to them, their children and their children?
Right.
I don't know.
And that's the thing, we don't know.
Yeah, yeah, they were willing to do it, this done.
Right. So, then in verse 26, when it says, they released Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. That word, scourged, or flogged, you see it translated that way sometimes. You know what that is? How, you know?
I think there's a whip with, things in it that just dig in your skin.
Exactly. It's like similar to a bullwhip, but has several different pieces of leather coming off the end of it. And some things you read, it had bone attached in it, metal attached in it, whatever they could do in complete pain. And when they would whip you, not only the whip of it, but the tearing of the skin. It's got to be awful. So,
Designed over for cruelty.
exactly.
Extreme.
Right. Extreme pain, extreme torture. Right. So, right. That's right.
One of those there.
That's right. We handed over.
That's like, you know, it was just a
Is there anywhere that we read that tells how long
law. So they can beat him as long as they want to beat him. They could beat him until he was dead, and they would experience no repercussions for it.
But that was the thing, they didn't want to kill him.
No.
Sure, they didn't want to, but they could have.
They could have easily, you're right. Yeah, and you, I mean, basically across his back is where they whipped him. So, but they did, you're right, they very easily could have killed him, but they didn't want him to die like that. They wanted to humiliate him, and we'll read here in a few minutes.
Even after this, he was forced to carry a portion of his cross, which
Exactly right.
I couldn't do it in public state.
Exactly right, and we'll get to that, you know, on down here in Matthew.
I think we just lose sight of what he went through because it's something that we just kind of have talked about for our entire lives and it becomes just a talking point. But if you sit down and think about it, it's unbelievable.
And that's one thing that later on in towards the end of the class, when we get to the point of, we always see this, right? Nearly every place we walk into, we always see this. What does that mean? Does it have anything to do with the table?
Communion, I mean, you remember his death and what he did for us.
Exactly. And every time we get to the point where we're, maybe during communion, when we really should be thinking of what he went through and the things that he had to endure, where is our mind? You know, towards the end of the lesson, we'll talk about that a little bit. But that's as we get into what he went through, like you said, Paul, most people couldn't endure just the whipping alone that he took.
Not to get too far ahead, I just want to tell you this. I saw a time on television, they took 3 marathon athletes, the best of the best, and they put them on a cross, they strapped them on, and they put a platform underneath them, so that at the appointed time the platform was broken, they'd be hanging on the cross. Those guys were in the best condition of humans that ever lived. The one that lasted the longest before crying uncle was 6 minutes. And that was in a healthy state. So, I mean, there's a lot more to this that we sometimes think.
And that's the thing is, you know, this is just as far as the pain, the infliction of pain, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of it here. So, then the soldiers, in verse 27, then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the common hall and gathered into him a whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. What was the point of that? Howard?
Well, I think they were mocking, making him please.
Exactly. We'll read that here in a few minutes. And when he had platted a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of Jews." But basically they took that robe and they took that crown of thorns and they're mocking him, saying, basically, "Ha ha, King of the Jews," right? So here we are with something else, a crown of thorns. And we, you know, in our minds we can think of what this crown of thorn looks like. First thing that always comes to my mind is a locust thorn. You can go right out here and find one. And they're about that long. Joe will tell you what happens when you get stabbed with a locust thorn, right? It hurts. Now I'm not saying that that's what it was, but if you can imagine having to sit there and let somebody cram a crown of thorns down on top of your head after you've been beaten and whipped across your back. So they spat upon him. They took a reed that they had given him. What's a reed, Howard? You know?
I know it's in a fine.
Reed is similar to like a cane pole, maybe, something like that.
Give him some drink.
Right. So, after they spit upon him, they took the reed, and they smote him in the head, which is basically hitting him in the head with it.
And what they don't say there too is, he had that crown of thorns on him at that time, and you can bet they didn't just set it up.
Exactly.
They pushed
That's exactly right. They're not,
it, beating on him,
right,
you know.
exactly. So they've taken up, they beat him across the back. They've dressed him in this robe. They've crowned this crown of thorns down on his head, and now they're going to take this, lack of a better understanding, a cane pole, some type of pole, and now they're hitting him in the head with the crown on. Correct? Yes, sir.
I'm not sure, but I was thinking that ring or that gold represented, the kings had a staff.
The staff is correct.
And that was.
And that's all part of,
this mockery.
that's right. It's all part of the robe, the crown, the reed, it's all part of them mocking him as basically saying, ha ha, here, look, he thinks he's king of the Jews, right? So, after they had mocked him, they took the robe off of him, put his own clothes back on, and led him away and crucified him. As they came out, in verse 32, as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of the skull. And this is where, Howard, you were talking about giving him the drink. They gave him vinegar to drink, mingled with gall. And when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. How many of you got vinegar in your mouth? Pretty bad, right? Right. I mean, when you're expecting unsweet tea, you get sweet tea, your taste buds, you're like, whoa. Now, can you imagine going through what he's gone through so far? Probably extremely thirsty, and this is what they do. Right? One thing I did forget back at the first part when we were talking about Judas. Judas and these men had this planned out, right? So they planned on how they were going to betray Jesus. Howard, do you remember how Judas betrayed him? Remember what led up to it?
I guess kiss was
Exactly.
the sign of affection.
Exactly.
So this was mockery.
That's right.
You're gonna kiss that as if he was his friend,
That's right.
but he really pointing out to death.
And then they say, in the verses there, if you study through there, they say Judas was one of the closest to him, right? So it was the easiest for him to betray him. So I forgot about that part. I apologize. So, let's see. Verse 35, and they crucified him, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture they did cast lots. And sitting down, they watched him there. And set up over his head his accusation written, this is Jesus, the King of the Jews. There were two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads, and saying, thou that destroyest the temple, and build it in 3 days, save this thyself. If thou be the Son of God, come down from the cross. What were they doing there?
This is a form of offering.
Basically saying if you are who you think if you are who you claim to be,
You got to show it.
right?
And of course, the end of our was show how much will they have.
Right.
I don't have the words.
I thought they were talking to the real temple.
Right. And then verse 41, likewise also the chief priests mocking him with the scribes and elders said, he saved others, but he cannot himself he cannot save. If he be the king of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God, let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God. The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. Now from the 6th hour, there was darkness all over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them that stood there, when they heard that, said, this man calleth for Elias. And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave it to him. The rest said, let be, let us see whether Elias will come to save him. Verse 50, Jesus, when he cried out again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city and appeared unto many. When the earth shook and the graves opened up, as we read there, do you think they realized at that point what had happened?
Even if they did, it didn't take long for them to get there. Because then we have all the rest of the book, which talks about what the state of Jews had done. So whether they realized it or not, for what it was worth, I don't know. But even if they did, they quickly forgot.
It's interesting that the book of Mark is, you can kind of subtitle it as the misunderstood Jesus. Because all through the book, he's presenting himself over and over and over again with the people who they just don't, they miss it. Even as apostles miss it. And at the very end, you have a centurion there standing in the dark after an earthquake, and he goes, hey, this was the Son of God here. And so it kind of shows you that, yeah, that all along, there were signs that were overt that should have pointed to who he was. But I think even at this point, they may have said, well, that was strange. But the accusation of the chief priests and elders stands. If he was the Son of God, he should have come down from the cross and he wouldn't have died. So they probably rationalized it away as to what just happened. But there were some who were standing by going, man, there's more to that than...
Right. And again, we go back. We go back to him being beaten. We go back to the crown of thorns. We go back to him being beaten with the reed on the crown of thorns. There are so many steps here that ordinary man, there's no way they could have endured. There's every day that things happen to us, and you think what he endured in just a few minutes, most men couldn't endure. So we get to the point where then he's hung upon the cross, and he's not just tied there, doesn't have a rope around his wrist. He's nailed to his hands, nailed to his feet. And like Paul was saying earlier, the men that are in the very best shape probably in their life and can hold themselves up there for 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Just hold yourself up. Try to do a chin up and hold yourself there. Try. Yes, sir.
And in this, all the time I got to breathe is when I raise up.
He'd have to raise himself up, so he's hanging there. He's hanging there by his hands, with the spikes driven through his hands. And the only way he can breathe is raise himself up
On feet that have a nail.
on his feet that are nailed like this, and his hands that are nailed. I don't think we can put our minds around what he endured.
And he endured it for 6 hours. That's
Exactly.
6 minutes.
Exactly. 6 hours.
It said my guy is up to second. But you gonna come down for?
Go ahead.
Anyway, I've heard a lot of preachers talk about that. And so forth. I couldn't say I can answer all the questions, but evidently, in other words, when we sin, sin is between us and God.
Right.
And evidently, he had this relationship with the Father all along, and first, for whatever reason, he felt forsaken. The Father was forsaken him. And that was necessary as part of the suffering he did for our sins.
Exactly right. That's
Alternative way to look at it is that he's calling their attention to a passage that's being fulfilled in their presence. And he's saying, he's beginning a psalm that the students of the law of God would have recognized as the beginning of a psalm and would have seen it and seen that this was fulfilled all within the span of this day. And I think that's ultimately what he's trying to say is more along those lines. Christ did not lose his status of being holy for being a sacrifice in this case. And if you can, because John would even say, behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. In order for a lamb to be qualified as an adequate sacrifice, they had to be without blemish. They had to be spotless. And God's enmity was not with the lamb. It was with the sin of the people. So, I'm not going to say it's a counterpoint. I'll just say it's an alternative way to look at the passage.
And once again, like Eddie said, he was there for 6 hours. And finally had given up. Verse 54, I think, is where we got to. 52, let's go back to 52. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. Now when the centurion and they that were with him watching Jesus saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, truly, this was the Son of God. And many women were there beholding afar off, which followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering unto them. Among which was Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James, and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's children. When the evening was come, there came a rich man, Joseph also himself was Jesus' disciple. He went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. So, when this, like we said, to be scourged, to be beaten, to be mocked, to be spit upon, and never, it's just like at the verse where they talked about, they were basically accusing him, and did he say a word?
He only answered one question. That's no question. All the others, yes,
And how did he answer? if that was the case, then if it was you or me, how would we, if someone was accusing me of this and you knew what was fixing to happen to you, what would happen? What do you think would happen?
He's probably trying to buy any way. to get
Any way out, right? You see a criminal today, any way out. Any way out they can get from. But did that happen with him here?
The Lord, He took on our guilt for the punishment that He endured. And that's what He don't really think a lot of. In His grace, we should receive, or we should see, that's what we want. But He endured all every side. And our Father allowed it because it was His plan. And all along, they knew this was the only way that we would be able to obtain forgiveness. And it's through all of His suffering. And that is what we remember, that in our place He stood.
That's right. Exactly right. So, when we're commanded to come together on the first day of the week, to break the bread, to drink the cup, in remembrance of Him. So, every Lord's Day when we come here, whether, I've been to different congregations where they do it at the first of service, take the Lord's Supper at the first, they take it at the end of the service, whichever situation you're in. You see so many that during that time, is your heart where it should be? Is your mind where it should be? So when I walk in and I see that right there, I'm not looking at the table. I'm not. This is just something we use, right? So during the Lord's Supper, we should be thinking about the things we talked about here in Matthew. We should be thinking about the pain that He endured, just like Sandra said, for us. The pain that He endured. So as we partake of the Lord's Supper every Lord's Day, we have to have our mind right. We have to think of the things that were sacrificed and the things that happened. So, in the end, I don't think any person here could endure anything that He endured. There's no loss to it. So that just tells us what man that He really was. What He did.
Something else too we ought to bear in mind is Jesus, I don't remember the passages in Scripture where it talks about Jesus took all, I think, 12 legions of angels to rescue Him. He knew he had
Absolutely.
that power.
At any time.
And we know Jesus, before He was crucified, before He endured all this, He prayed that this cup, if there's any other way, this cup would pass from Him. So it wasn't something He wanted to do. And to know that He had the power to reverse all of this, it's just amazing thinking
That He
that
did.
He did it anyway.
He endured it. And like you say, there's a song that you could have called 10,000 Angels. At any point during this suffering, when He was hanging there, He couldn't breathe. And the pain and the torture and all that He endured. So when we come in every single day, we should wake up thankful. We wake up with ailments, we wake up just can't wrap my mind around how bad it really was. What kind of torture it really was. And like John says, he could have not done it. He could have found a way out. He had a way out, he could have, but he didn't.
A while back, I saw a picture of a reenactment of the gallows wearing back on the hill.
Yeah, that's right, and that's, there weren't any wheels. No, there weren't any wheels. You were carrying it, dragging it, and it wasn't made out of lightweight material like this. So,
And at the end of that, you have to put that one down and walk away from it. I think part of the torturous aspect of all of this is that if you had the instrument of your execution, how close would you want to be to it?
right.
And he had to carry the very thing that killed him. And just think about that psychologically. It is enough to break some people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When, like we said, he could have not done it, but he did. Let's take a look. Go ahead.
It's also worth noting, whenever we start asking for justice from God, it would have been just for Christ to stop it all and to say, you know what, you guys are just as bad as it is, you deserve what's coming to you. That would have been just. So before we start asking for God's justice for against them and them and them, we need to realize it is every day of mercy past that cross.
Will that thing go okay? What's time we got? I'm sure you'll for today. All right. Thank you very much.